Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Checked Before. This time, it's another special episode. This time, it's the Patrick Stewart episode of Extras. Yeah, the Ricky Gervais show. It's the pervy Patrick Stewart. Yeah, it's Ricky Gervais working on The Office on his previous show. It's homage. He's homaging himself. Speaking of great homages or salutes or whatever, if you're a Patreon member, you can check out next week our Family Guy episode, our special Family Guy / Star Trek The Next Generation episode. It's the one where Stewie transports the entire cast of The Next Generation to his house after being disappointed at a Star Trek or sci-fi convention. You can do that. Become a Patreon member. Go to patreon.com/IABD. Become a member. Become a Patreon member. Please continue to support us. Many different levels, many fun levels in there. Check them all out. And doesn't take much to get in where you can listen to that Family Guy Patreon episode next week. But right now, it's the Extras episode. It's the Patrick Stewart episode of Extras on It's All Been Checked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. We have lots of people here to talk to you today.
This is Steven.
I guess you're waiting for me to say something.
Yes.
Well, Marianne is here.
Yes, we generally do the three of us first, and then we go to any additional guests.
Hey, Keith. That's why I was waiting.
Jimmy, edit that out.
I'm not going to. Hi, Keith. This is Jimmy-Jerome, and we have Marianne joining us.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay.
Good. I'm glad you're joining us for our special between-season episodes. We watched Extras, the Patrick Stewart episode, which I believe is just titled Patrick Stewart, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the season 1 finale of Extras, which aired 2 seasons of 6 episodes apiece. And then I think there's a Christmas special to end it out. First impressions, what did you guys think of that episode?
Well, it's I'm a fan of the series anyway. It's been a long time since I've watched it, though. Well, I mean, within the last few years or so, I think. Patrick Stewart in particular is very funny on it, and usually the humor is good on the show, except it's just, you have to have the kind of taste of, like, the awkward humor of, like, The Office, that kind of secondhand embarrassment thing, which gets to be a bit much for me sometimes, and I'm sure, Marianne, if you'd like to weigh in on that.
I hated it. I hate the secondhand awkwardness. I loved the show. I told Keith I wasn't going to talk about this, but I actually cried in this episode. I mean, I got so upset with Ricky Gervais' character berating the woman. It was just, I mean, yeah, he should have said something to her about, hey, what we say in private doesn't need to go beyond other people. But he just, like, absolutely berated her, and she, like, started changing who she was because of this dumb. Oh, it was so frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a lot more than just what he said that made her change, but I agree he was a total jerk to her, and he was a jerk in other parts of the episode too, honestly. I mean, I like the show as well. I'd seen this episode before, but years ago, and this episode did not age well at all.
Well, there's certain aspects of the, I mean, not sure if I would call it homophobia necessarily, but it's more of the sign of the times things where the climate for acceptance of homosexuality was certainly much different than, I don't know if it was certainly a regional thing or just a character thing, but I remember there being another episode where he had to act in a stage play where they suddenly threw in a homosexual kiss, and the whole thing was centered around him trying to avoid doing that because he was going to be embarrassed by his macho, like, high school alums or something. As far as the Patrick Stewart part goes, every episode has a celebrity guest star of some sort, and it's amazing to me how, the sense of humor that it takes for them to do the things that they do. They're all very willing to just poke fun at themselves and do this sort of caricature of their public personas and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, that part didn't age well either, but it was something interesting from Patrick Stewart that was unexpected based on the persona that we had of him.
Well, yeah, it's the playing against type thing, I think, was what really made it go. I mean, just the seriousness that he was, especially the way they opened the episode. They were giving you an example of this Shakespearean kind of presence that was playing against. And just the willingness to drop in to make it so just kills me every time. Twice
in the episode.
Yeah.
Could not get over his catchphrase. And we know that Ricky Gervais' character hates catchphrases, as he made clear earlier in the episode as well.
Right.
Stephen, we didn't get your first impression.
Yeah, so I hadn't seen it before. So Colleen brought it. I'd never seen Extras before. I was familiar with it. So Colleen brought it up, and the pilot episode with Ben Stiller, and I thought it was hilarious. You know, I knew it was that kind of awkward comedy, which I can run hot and cold with. I'm a Seinfeld fan, and I like Curb Your Enthusiasm, and there's lots of awkward comedies. The Office, for that matter. So I did enjoy it a lot, and Ben Stiller was great at it. And I like the behind-the-scenes actor kind of stuff because obviously I'm an actor and director and that kind of stuff. I thought, it was 2005, and I thought some of the stuff in it, the homophobic stuff, definitely I watched through my hands a little bit, even though I still giggled more at the uncomfortableness and obviously him just being an idiot. And I think he and the girl are such idiots. And before that happened, or right around the time she started to try and ruin things for him, I said to Colleen, because essentially we'd been watching Arrested Development and Party Down, and I'm trying to think of the other show where essentially people just end up ruining things either for themselves or everybody else, and this is very much in that vein. I enjoyed the episode overall. As far as Patrick Stewart, he sells that so well without selling it at all because he's so deadpan in that first part where he's talking about his screenplay. It made me laugh. I thought it was more of like he's a 14-year-old boy than a grown man. I thought that was kind of the joke. And obviously playing against type, I think you mentioned that. And the make it so was just the chef's kiss on top of that. But so deadpan, it's just like, I mean, that's great acting. I mean, it is, but it isn't. It's just great acting. I mean, when, obviously Gervais is giving him reaction of like, are you sure about this? And his reaction is just like, his look of ignorant bliss is just so perfect. It's great. So it made me laugh. And the part that tied together at the end, going back to his screenplay when he was doing the apology over the phone, I thought that was great. And even again, he's Patrick Stewart, so he's got that great voice. So he's gonna be able to impart that effect even without seeing his face. But I enjoyed it a lot, and I didn't realize it was a season finale, but it makes sense the way it trailed off at the end. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe you guys know for sure or not. Isn't he essentially writing The Office?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the Ricky Gervais character Andy.
Yes.
Yeah, that's similar to what is sitcom, and then obviously The Office came first. So
Right.
Yeah, this is just a throwback there.
I'm not sure if he was literally supposed. I mean, within the show, I'm not sure if he was supposed to be literally writing The Office, but that's good observation now that you mentioned it. I'm not sure if that occurred to me before.
Well, when we see him in season 2 playing that boss character, it's not David Brent. He's different. But yeah, I think it's a very, very, very similar show to The Office.
Well, I mean, it's possible that the all the intervention from the studio, because that's essentially what's going to end up happening for season 2. Ends up turning it to something else, maybe. I don't know. But the setting was different, too, so who knows?
Yeah, I liked at the end, this is your Star Wars moment there. Do you see that they were at Pinewood Studios?
Oh, no, I missed it.
Yep. And now Star Trek Discovery films at Pinewood Studios in Toronto. So it's almost foreshadowing to something that happened 15 years later. But yeah, they were at Pinewood where Star Wars was filmed. Oh. Was Star Wars filmed at Pinewood in England? I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first 3. And then they went to Australia, I think, for the prequels.
Okay.
And I don't know if they went back for the post-sequels, whatever the hell. The last trilogy. I'm not sure where they did those.
I doubt it was a Star Wars reference intentionally. My guess is, and I don't remember, but my guess is he's working in Pinewood a lot in the series. But yeah, it just was funny to me to see that over the top at the end.
That's hilarious. I missed that.
I liked the commentary on actors versus writers, where Patrick Stewart's like, well, with actors, you just get to say yes or no. With writers, you get to create opportunities.
Which, of course, leads into his lewd ideas for, is there a story there or anything? No, not really.
It's funny because of how cringeworthy Andy is, Ricky Gervais's character, that he's cringing at Patrick Stewart's idea.
Right.
It was just it was perfect because of how well he was, I think, actually really hiding his reactions to it. You could kind of, obviously you can tell there's that little subtlety of him reacting and trying to politely direct the conversation in a way to like redeem what is happening. This is Stephen was mentioning yes, I see. Is there a narrative?
I honestly didn't think it was subtle at all. I think the only reason Patrick Stewart didn't notice is he was so caught up in his own ideas.
Right.
Which isn't to say it was a bad acting job by Ricky Gervais. I feel like we've all been in that situation where we want to be nice, but it's just so hard to be nice.
Well, by subtle, I meant it was. I thought it was just like the right pitch of enough for the audience to understand what is happening, but without it being like the over the top. Oh, ay, that kind of thing. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. If you did not watch the episode, Patrick Stewart's movie pitch of the movie he was writing was he would run into a beautiful girl and all her clothes would fall off, and he's seen everything. And then he'd be talking to a cop and all of her clothes would fall off, but he's seen everything. And that's basically the whole thing, was women with clothes would just keep falling off because he's got Professor X powers and he is making their clothes fall off, which is the really creepy part of it, that he's doing it himself on purpose.
I think it's also, it just dawned on me, that's kind of a Star Trek reference. Something I complain about all the time on here is those people with godlike powers. And he talks about, I can have the power. I can do whatever I want. I can just think it. And I think if he was, I guess he's saying if I was Trelane, I would just have girls take their clothes off as opposed to doing all these dumb things they do, which in big picture, some of the stuff Q and Trelane do is just as dumb as that. At least he knows what he wants and he's not torturing people as bad as just disrobing women is. But I think it is. I feel like in a roundabout way they're getting at a Star Trek trope. And if they're not, then I am. Because actually maybe not. Maybe I'm remembering it poorly. I know most of the god powers end up really putting gross moves on the girl. I mean, Apollo pretty much sexually assaults the woman in Who Mourns for Adonis. So they do these terrible things.
They do, and I thought if you were just thinking that it was because of the godlike trope of his movie, that was why he was doing all the nudity, that would be one thing. But then the capper on the end of the conversation where he's talking about Ricky Gervais's pilot, he's like, is there nudity in it? No? Oh, well, there could be. Oh, okay. Are men and women? Sure. No, I mean, just women. Oh, okay. Like, Patrick Stewart clearly only wanted to see women naked, and that was the whole thing. And you could tell as he was pitching the show, he, as Patrick Stewart, as the actor, just wanted to see the women naked, And there just happened to be cameras there, but he just wanted to see them.
But yes, brilliant. That going back again to the incredible sense of humor about himself, and really, I just now made another connection. His character in American Dad is very similar. Yeah,
we'll get into that more in our other extras special episode, which either airs before or after this. One of these is going on Patreon. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But we're doing another special episode on Family Guy, and we'll talk more about his role on American Dad at that point as well. What else do you want to talk about with this episode of Extras? I mean, there wasn't a lot of Patrick Stewart in it, honestly. I wish there was more Patrick Stewart in it.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed organic enough the way he flowed in and out of it. To second one of Stephen's points, I said my notes, I'm a sucker for the behind-the-scenes show-within-a-show thing that they were doing, very, very similar to the arc on Seinfeld, even going to BBC, as opposed to Seinfeld going to NBC, the channel they're actually already airing on, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. And I love that kind of, I guess, fourth wall humor, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, there was definitely some British humor I wish I understood. Like when they were talking about, should it be on BBC 1 or 2 or 3? And I'm like, I don't know what the difference is.
Yeah, I inferred that it was probably something sort of like Fox versus FX or something, but
Yeah, except they're all government funded.
Network versus basic cable or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought that his buddy, his fellow actor who was kind of pompous or whatever, I felt like they were trying to you could contrast him with Patrick Stewart, because that guy was kind of highfalutin but still a scumbag, whereas Patrick Stewart is just obviously a great actor and he does the great oration at the beginning because he's Patrick Stewart, and at the end, but then he's obviously also still kind of a scumbag too.
What did you think of the commentary on Star Trek fans here, where Patrick Stewart was or Ricky Gervais was like, well, you haven't seen Next Generation? And Patrick Stewart's like, is because your wife won't let you? Oh, your girlfriend won't let you? Wait, you're single and you've never seen it?
just the confounded expression, that frown he had, like, This doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
I loved it.
Nope.
But it was also the inverse, though, where he's implying that it's only single guys who can't get a wife or a girlfriend that watch Star Trek, which was very much the trope in those days they were still playing on Star Trek.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it's kind of gone away, but in those days...
It's the Shatner at the Trek convention on SNL saying, "You
get a life.
Have you ever kissed a girl?" kind of thing. Right. But it's obviously a Patrick Stewart, James Picard, Patrick Stewart Picard take on it rather than a Shatner Kirk take on it.
Yeah. Any other thoughts about this episode that we want to talk about?
Marianne.
Marianne said her piece about how much she hated it, and she was done.
I love Patrick Stewart. I thought if Mom could have seen this show, I think she would have loved it because she loved Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart stuff, A+. Everything else, F.
Is that like a C? I don't know.
I mean, if we have to grade this, which I don't like to do, I would say the episode overall, I give it a B, and I give the Patrick Stewart stuff an A-.
Yeah, there you go.
Only a minus.
What do you mean, only a minus? It felt a little inappropriate in the era of Me Too to have him saying he was going to mind control the women's clothes off. And yet he delivered it so anti-maliciously and with such charm that I still have to give him an A, but I'm going to go at least an A- for it.
Yeah, it didn't even register to me that
the inappropriateness
of it.
Or the creepiness of it, I guess.
No, it's just Patrick Stewart, so I don't think of him as creepy or anything.
Marianne's like, if some guy made my clothes drop off, I'd be mad unless it was Patrick Stewart, and then I'd be like, oh, yeah, it's Patrick Stewart.
It's Patrick Stewart, it's fine. He did it with his mind.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Would you scrabble to get your clothes back on?
No, he's already seen it all.
Nice callback.
We've seen all of this episode, so I think we're going to end this special. This will be a quick one, and thank you for listening. We'll be back with Season 2 of The Next Generation not too long from now.
Till then,
live long.
And prosper.
Make it so.
Oh.
Did you ever watch Next Generation?
No, I'm married.
No.
Quick last note. I know we already did our goodbye, but it's interesting when that's the stereotype, and yet all three men and the woman on this podcast are all happily married to a spouse.
No
single people on this podcast right now.
Right.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's Got the Time?